Oh, okay.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Clare and Elton Brewington.
Hello.
We are with Brightside Global Trade TV, and we have with us an author, and he's joining us from London in the UK. What's very interesting about his book, and I haven't read the book, so I can't give you a review on what it's about till I get it, but the book tells you about accounting. So we've been talking about retirement. We've done a whole month of retirement series, but you really need to know the math. It's not just good enough to say that, you know, I bought insurance and I have a 401k and blah, 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 but you need to know the math. And as Errol has pointed out to me, he cannot do everything in a short segment on this video. So he's written a book, and he's also offering a webinar and training so that he can really get into it, because this is a time-consuming job. It's not a 1, 2, 3 fix, and you really need to understand it. So pay very good attention and get his book, because you're going to need to do that math calculations. So over to you, Errol, and we're so honored to have you on our show.
Well, thank you very much. Warren Buffett always seems to set the tone, and in 2019 or 2014, he said, accounting is the language of business. Well, Louis Passione, way back in 1495, around there, wrote the first accepted accounting book. So accounting has been the language of business for a long, long time. But it took somebody 500 years for Warren Buffett to bring it mainstream. But this language, like any other language, has got words. And as we communicate with the words, accounting produces the financial statements. And organizing words is a cornerstone of any accounting records and transactions of the final product. The financial statements, like any language, I say the Deacon 3 Qs, the quality of the financial reports is contingent on the quality of the input and the quality of the management of that input. Now, I know we're all going through a retirement seminar. If you're going to work Monday through Friday, Starbucks, no offense, you're saving your money and that's it, and you're paying the mortgage, you may argue that you don't need accounting. But we have millions of small businesses out there that need more than just cash in and cash out. And it's that cash in and cash out that produces the profit that gives you that retirement money. And without the language of business, you're not going to have a retirement, and you're not going to have a profitable business. And the other morning I made a comment that he says, well, my business runs to loss and the taxes pay for them, and the taxes help subsidize it. I said, really? You have $1 million loss. It cost you $1 million in cash. And all the taxpayer is going to give you back is your marginal tax credit. Is that a very good business decision? But let's get down to what really this language of business really is. When you go in, let's take my first day on Accounting 101. I was presented with a 500-page accounting book, analyzing Apple. That's fine. We all know you need accounting to analyze Apple. But what about the millions of people who need that basic accounting to understand what is a debit, what is a credit? They were trying to analyze Apple before you understood what's the difference between cash accounting and accrual accounting. And yet, millions of businesses out there that when they reach approximately 5 million have to go to accrual accounting. They hardly mention it. I've noticed people on YouTube that, no offense to them, and they're very busy out there selling a product, they will tell you how to click on QuickBooks, they'll tell you how to click all over the place, and they'll leave you dissatisfied, and they say, well, oh, but you know, there is a big difference between cash and accrual accounting. It can affect your taxes, but there's another video for that one. So what my training course does is cover from the definitions to the financial statements, what each one does, what it doesn't, some definitions. We take the transactions and we move those transactions to the adjusted trial balance. That adjusted trial balance is only a list of accounts, but yet it produces that financial statement. A small business can actually produce that financial statement on Excel. That's all it is. It's a map. People are terrified of accounting, and they shouldn't be. And I think it starts off with this 500-page textbook. I hate accounting. I need to understand mathematics. Yes, you have to understand one-on-one, and it's getting more and more technical. And as you go further up the ranks of analyzing Amazon, which right now you don't get to Amazon, you don't get to analyze Amazon until you understand what's a debit and a credit. And they don't, duality, for example, I don't understand duality. Well, it's very simple. You have an expense which you debit and you credit the liability. But do we realize that a person let's assume it's Mary. She's what I call the kitchen table business. She buys a product for her computer. She's in consulting. It doesn't matter how much money she's making, but she's got 5 roommates. She's trying to make things matter. She buys a product from Amazon or another multi-billion-dollar company. Amazon does a credit for the sale. She does a debit for the purchase. Amazon does a debit for the credit card. She does one for the credit card. It does not discriminate. It's very simple, debits and credits, just the same as a computer is 0, 1, 0, 1, but it grows from there. And before I get back to go on to why we need to learn these, why we need this basic training before we take 101, is that first of all, you get intimidated when you take 101. A lot of people don't need it, or at least right now. But what this training is going to do, it will give you that overall training that no how-to book will do. But it'll give you that training that will prepare you for 101. It will also take that small business owner that's able to say, listen, you know what, my business is expanding. I need that knowledge. But one of my favorite one is, for a business person, what is my basic return on professional fees? Well, professional fees, I have to pay to prepare my taxes. I've got to prepare this. I've got to do that. Absolutely, that's a cost. But how many times does a professional add in, especially if it is an annual contract, 1 month of consulting, in addition to verifying what the bookkeeper's done? Are you spending every single month on the same issue? Are you spending every single month having the accountant explain the same thing because you're not willing to learn or to master the basics of the language of business? What would happen one day when you actually go to the accountant and say, I read in the paper today that there's a piece of legislation that may affect my business. Well, you got a minute, give me a call. Now the accountant now has to start thinking. And guess what? I think the average accountant is going to give you a lot more respect than coming in there every single month and telling you the same old thing, because that accountant knows very well that he's going to lose that account in time when that business person talks to a suave friend of his and says, you know, oh, my accountant helps me so much. He's so great. And guess what? He changes and everything's fine. They can go, that old song, cruising down the river, until one day he realizes 4 months later, he says, I'm paying twice as much as the other accountant and he's not doing anything for me. Whose fault is it? Is it both you guys' fault or not? I once went to a seminar and said, don't complain about, you go to a friend for a bank loan and he gives you, your banker friend, a 3%. You wake up the next morning and you find out it's 2% or 1% in another bank. What's a friend for? Wait a minute. Your friend did his job. He got the highest rate for the bank. Your job is to make sure that you get the best rate, or guess what? Or at least dealt with your friend and said, listen, you're not giving me the best rate. Yes, sir, but you know what? You don't qualify for. That's the power, I believe, of understanding basics of accounting. And once you get to understand it, and you hear news that such and such a company has got a cash crisis, hey, makes life more interesting. And loan officers, by the way, they love ratios. They love them. They all do. But they are, unfortunately for the world, well, there's some standard. We've got to have a working capital ratio of X. Okay. Accounting deals with the past, especially financial accounting. It can only deal with the past. It can only deal with money. So yes, we've got a working capital ratio. Let's be a couple of little technical here for 1 minute. Current assets, 2 million. Current liabilities, 1.5 million. Produce it. Oh, this guy's great. But the next morning, he took $500,000 to pay he had to finance payroll. But the loan officer says, oh, his ratio is fine. Now we understand situations can change overnight. It doesn't necessarily mean that this situation is figures never lie, but sometimes liars figure. But I think that they need to take a look and see what made up those ratios. I know it's harder for them to say, listen, give me 5 days before the cutoff date. But if things look too good and maybe they should do a question mark. Maybe things are so steady that, well, this business is so solid. Is it really that solid? Is it that it could be solid? It might not be solid. Do they really have what they have on there? So the training that I'm offering, more so in the book, actually I'm busy with another book, which is more, this is Financial Accounting, Get It Straight. But the training to me that covers from, as I said, the definitions all the way through, that covers an enormous amount of territory in 2.5 to 3 hours. The whole goal is it's 153 PowerPoint slides with me involved. We stop at certain points in the game, say at the 4th point or 8th point. We answer some certain questions on the way, and that's it. But I think what training is important. Not everybody comes in with a different level. I went through a cash and accrual accounting, for example. Somebody else knows it. They don't need to they will get bored stiff if I get on there for 5 minutes for somebody who doesn't understand it. That's what the little break is for, but we can always have a little chat afterwards. So we have to keep it moving. There's nothing worse than, oh, I know this, or I should know that, but you know what? It doesn't affect my business. For example, you're a service industry, and I have to bring up my favorite inventory for, you got a store with vitamins, and I talk a few minutes about the effective inventory management. For those who have inventory, it's very, very important. So I couldn't spend 2 hours just on inventory and everything. They'll go nuts. And not only that, so we have to keep it moving. I'm not promising you it covers the world, but it covers a lot more than a how-to. But more important than that, it gives you the juice to go on. It gives you the juice to say there's more to it. For example, the 3 major types of depreciation. And there's more of them. But hey, as Warren Buffett said, this is a language of business that has dialects. 20 years ago, we had US GAAP, UK GAAP, German GAAP. Now we have US GAAP and IFRS, which is 120 countries around the world. The United States acknowledges for foreign companies that they may file certain reports under IFRS. And this is another area. I know it's not so common anymore that people follow in their parents' footsteps, but accounting is pretty juicy subject to following in your father's footsteps. At 75, 80 years of age, you got a brain, you can still do the job. You couldn't do construction. oh man, isn't that great? I get to talk about different people. I may get laughed at a few times, but who cares? A child, he's 35 or he's 25, he's going to study accounting. He's adamant to follow in his father's footsteps. Like any other career, it's changed. And accounting, although debit and credit, believe me, with GAAP, IFRS, the rules, it's not your father's accounting anymore. I'm not telling you don't go with it, but it's not your father's accounting. What I'm saying is take this course, and if you change your mind afterwards and say, thank God I'm no longer an accountant, it's the best return on investment you've ever made.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Errol. That was amazing. So accounting is the language of business. Well, accounting is the language of business, is what we're saying.
That is right across the board. You'll see that written all over the place. It is the
Okay.
accounting is language of business. It's international. But people just say it's account. Warren Buffett says it's accounting of business. So the first thing people say, he's a multi-billionaire. Why should I bother about it?
Right.
On the other hand, it affects everybody.
Uh-huh.
Now, does it affect the Starbucks guy as much? That only in Starbucks? No offense to this guy, we all need these guys. As much as it does affect the small business? No. But at the same time, people just say, oh, I don't need this billionaire. It's like an old saying is that, oh, I should clean my teeth every day. Do we? Yes, we do.
Right.
But the point is, accounting is the language of business. It goes over there, and we say, well, you know what? No offense, but I'd like to have sex more often, and I should be more, and I would have sex more often, but if I ate better. But you know what? They become standard. And so accounting, the language of business, has become standard.
Okay.
We need to understand that it affects everybody. It affects people at different levels. And you won't learn it all in one day.
That's right.
Anybody? Errol, I have one question. And I wanted to, I mean, so you're formerly in the US, New York, and then now you're.
Well, I'm trying to sell my accent, but it's, I was.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No. I was actually born in South Africa. I lived there. I left when I was very, very young. That one I sold at a good profit.
Okay.
I moved to the UK, and then 40 years ago, I moved to the States. And I was, so I have a lot of US GAAP. I have a lot of experience on it. And then I decided I would move back because and link IFRS. The United States and the UK have tremendous business links.
You can do business. You can do business in both countries.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in the UK before I went to the States, but I lived in the States for 40 years, so I consider myself more in tune with it.
Okay.
But the United States is 500 billion invested in both countries.
Okay.
There's a huge amount. So the two countries, so what I'm trying to do is to set up both at the same time.
Very good. Very good.
So Randy, show us the book. The book is available everywhere.
Errol.
And Errol, and the book is available everywhere. And it's important.
Book is, let me add one thing here. The book is financial accounting only.
Okay.
The training, and I would, I have a website, www.deaconmedia.co.uk, and that covers the book, which is only financial accounting. I'm trying to promote the training, and that's something newer. But if they email me at Errol@deaconmedia.co.uk, they'll get the training. They'll get more of the information on the training. I think the training is more the future than the book right now, because we can cover an enormous amount of territory. The book is only financial accounting. The training will cover more mainstream, and it'll cover a lot more.
So we'll make sure that the link is available for the training and the book, and I'll work with you.
We'll schedule a time that we could consult with you to see how we can best position you for the network and the broadcast, as well as because you pose some important dynamics with accounting, and we're excited about that. This is amazing, and this is at a time where we're going to have to really begin to focus on what the long-term impacts of
that's right.
And
it's and I'm not trying to go on here, but accounting is a follower. And
Get his book.
so anyway, what I'll do, I do have a LinkedIn under Errol Deacon, ERROL. LinkedIn, my name, LIN, LinkedIn is under Errol Deacon. You get all my postings on there. You can get hold of me there. You can get me hold of the email, and I put up training. So I'm very easy to find.
What is your email address?
My email is Errol, ERROL, at Deacon Media, DeaconMedia.co.uk.
Awesome.
Okay, all right,
Well,
very
thank
good.
you so much,
Uh-huh.
Errol. And I have
Uh-huh.
another author that's coming up. Donna, do you have a quick question before I bring Mr.
Thank you so
Randy
much, Errol.
Truman?
Thank you.
I don't speak English.
Okay. I thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you in the future. I'm serious about that. You know, what that
Thank you.
means and how we can pull together some unique and also we
Well-
need to discuss, we need to create a call where we can talk to you about maybe client development in both regards.
Right, when, I still, accounting is, maybe the author on here would not agree with me on it, and I know we've gone through a pandemic and we've gone more live, and these sessions that we have here are absolutely great. But there's certain subjects, and I believe accounting is one of them, that has to be taught in real life. Because you get more and more, I can get a guest speaker easier. And I think it's like a swimming instructor. When the person's in the water, they have to be, Zoom and can only do so much good. This has been tremendous progress. We're having a huge connection here because of this. Don't get me wrong, but there are certain subjects that I think, and this is one of them, that should be taught in real life.
All right.
Now, perhaps perhaps my author friend here might not agree with me, but who cares? It's a free country.
That's true. Well, thank you very much, Errol, for the book about accounting, and he's got a webinar training as well. Colonel Donna Force served the U.S. Air Force. She's a veteran, and she's been serving us with a retirement series. And I have with me Randy Truman, Thurman, who's going to introduce us to his book next. So any questions, Donna, before I bring in the next author?
We have the sequence. Last time for your email, Errol, and then we move directly to Donna. Last time. I have
his email.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
Donna, it's
you.
on you.
Donna?
No, I don't have any questions, but just a quick comment. I appreciate that Errol brought up this issue of the importance of the language of accounting with business. There's a very close and important relationship that exists between a business and their accounting practices, and their health relies upon that. So I'm glad he's brought up the topic, and I'll follow up with him on LinkedIn. I'll find his profile and follow up that way, but appreciate you being here and making us understand that concept. So,
thank you so much. And we're going
I'm going to
to
give somebody else a chance. I'm talking too much.
That's okay. Thank you so much. You're watching Brightside Global Trade TV, and we are talking all things retirement, and we will make sure that these links are available to you. Thank you for watching. And if you do happen to buy Errol's book or do the training, make sure that you let us know, write us a comment, and we'll give you 2 tickets to the next taping of our show. Thank you for watching.